So to make your cityscapes, you're gonna start with your piece of paper in a landscape orientation. If you don't have a paper pre-cut like this, you can use an index card. That works just as well. You wanna use something that is thicker. So this paper is thick. Cardstock is also thick as well. And we're gonna start by making 5 lines that come from the bottom, and they're gonna end up at various heights. I'm gonna do mine in pen, but I want you guys to do yours in pencil. So your lines be different heights. They can be different distances apart. 5 lines. Go ahead. These are gonna be our tall size skyscrapers in our buildings. And we're gonna do toppers for those. I'm gonna do an example of the tops that you can use. So tops, you can do a straight line. You can do an angled, curved, or angled like that. So those are the various tops that you can do. And the top that you do, you want to center it along there. Go ahead and do your top. All right. Now we're going to take these buildings and connect them all the way to the ground. These lines don't have to be exact. You don't need to use a ruler. Okay. Our next step, so third step, is to add our low buildings. So I'm just gonna do the top of the low buildings. You wanna start all the way from the side over here. And I'm not gonna do a straight line through. Maybe this one's gonna go up here. Now here I've got a larger space. I'm gonna do a stair stepper. Like that, yep. And even on this side. So it starts and begins on the very edge. If you have a large space and you wanna do a stair stepper, go for it, okay? So now we're gonna have detail, okay? And we're just gonna do a few options for details. We've got a spire like this. You could do a antenna. You could do a little box. So we don't wanna get this really complicated, but a few of those things we could. So looking at those detail options there, I'm going to choose to put a spire. Nope, I'm gonna do a little box on that one. I'll do a spire on this one, and maybe a little box on that one. And that's it. You don't have to do a detail on all of your buildings, just pick and choose which ones you might want to do some on. So our last step is to cut. So I'm gonna flip this upside down, and I'm gonna use my scissors to cut straight lines down all the side. So that's why if it wasn't exact before, you can cut it to be exact. So you're gonna cut all of these lines first. So this has all been cut. If you look on the back side, all of my lines went that way. Okay, and then I'm gonna go through and cut those off. And for something like this, I'm just gonna cut like this with it. And I can do that detail part later. When you're done, flip it upside down, and you have your silhouette of your city. If you're at home watching this, now is the time where you would go back to the slideshow and look at the examples of the city silhouettes. We'll be doing that in class now. It's important to not lose your cityscapes because we'll be using those later. So at the end of the day, please make sure they end up in your Ziploc bag. You don't lose them. So this is an example of our first step. However, this is way, way, way too high. Okay, I'm gonna do it in the correct placement on one of ours. So we wanna put our city right on top of the water. So it's just gonna go like that. So I've got 2 pieces cut out, and not all of my building is gonna show. So I could tear this off or cut it and use this part. I like that part better. So I'm gonna line that up, I think, like that. So I'm gonna start here with my scraping and go all the way around. So let me zoom in again. Okay. So I wanna hold this down, and I can use this edge of it. So it's kind of curved down, it's pointed down, it's curved down, or I could turn it sideways and use the edge like this, or I could use the side of it like this and scrape the side. I'm gonna start with a thin line first. I'm gonna take that off just so you guys can see that thin line that I just scraped. Line this back up. Okay. And this right here, that you scrape off, you're gonna wanna put that on your yellow paper. So you've got that yellow paper close by, scrape it off on there. Each time you scrape oil pastel from here, put it on your scratch paper. Okay, if you have paper towel, you could put it on there too, or tissue, or rags. We have our yellow paper that we're gonna use for that, okay? All right, so this is one that is in progress. Okay? They've done the border that we just did. They filled it with black, which we have not done yet, and then they blended. If we zoom in on this side has not been blended. This side has. Okay. This one here is also in progress. Do you think this one has been blended? This one was blended with a finger, not with oil, because the oil pastel was thick enough and it was high enough quality oil pastel that it could just blend with a finger. This blended really, really fast because it was high quality oil pastel. If you have a gold wrapper on yours, that's also going to be high quality and you don't need to blend it with oil. You can if you want, but your finger should probably be enough. If you don't want to get your fingers dirty, yes, you can definitely blend with oil, but these blend easier than the other ones. These, yes, these, no. So this was done, rather than scraping it, we used a pencil, and we found that when we did that, the pencil mark stayed there, and we didn't necessarily like that. So that's why we changed what we were doing, and that's why we're scraping it now. It's also easier to fix a mistake when you're scraping. If you make a mistake, all you have to do is rub the oil pastel and it'll fix it. So with a pencil, you can't erase it. Even though it's pencil, you think pencil could erase, but it cannot erase on top of oil pastel. So that's why this one has the pencil line there. But this has not been blended. If we look at the bottom of the water has been blended and this has been blended. So you're gonna take your oil pastel and you wanna fill in as solidly as you can. And it's very important that these little flakes here don't get mushed into our background. So grab those flakes and move them around. It can be a good idea to have a toothpick or a Q-tip close by just to kind of pick them up like that and move them off to the side so that they don't get in the way. When you go up to the edge, you want to go right up to the edge. Oh, there's an example of a piece that I don't want there. Just carefully move that off to the side. When you blend, that is when you'll have an opportunity to make a nice crisp edge. And if it's still hard for you to do it at that point, then you can always scrape the background away to give yourself a crisp edge like I've done right here in that one. So we're just gonna come down right to the top of the water's edge. You want to come all the way to the side of your project and just fill this in really solid. It may take a few times going over it. And at this point, it would be a good idea to use that yellow paper as a placemat. And if you want a Q-tip, raise your hand and I'll bring some around that you can use to very carefully move that off. You could also use this tool too, to just kind of like poke it and see how it got connected on there. So this tool can be used as well to kind of like grab it and move it off to the side too. And that's, once you're done with that, we're done for the day. The rest of the time is for you to work on your your inspiration pages.